Namaste everyone. In today's video, we're going to focus on Muni Patanjali's Yoga Sutra 3.47. Now in this particular Yoga Sutra, Muni Patanjali is helping us to understand the 5 fundamental building blocks in order to achieve mastery over the senses. So let's take a good look at the sutra, start breaking it up word by word and understanding it a little bit better. So the sutra itself goes, Grahana Swarupasmitanvayarthavatva Sanyamadi Indriya Jayaha. Alright, so this is the sutra itself. Now let's go through each of the words, start breaking up the meanings and understanding it a little bit more in depth. So the first word in this case is Grahan. Now, we're going to start off with the 5 building blocks, so the 5 words from the sutra, which are indicating what is needed to kind of achieve that mastery over the senses. So let's take note of these top 5 words. The first one is Grahan, which refers to the grasping power or the perception power of the sense organ. Then comes Swarupa. Swarupa refers to its natural state or its natural form. Then comes the third word, Asmita, which means the eye sense or the individual sense. And then comes ANVAYATVA, which refers to the relatedness. And the final word over here is ARTHAVATTVA, which means the purposefulness or the meaning. So these are the top 5 words. Now, as soon as you went through these, you may have realized this is very similar to Sutra 3.44, where similarly these 5 kinds of building blocks were listed. And in that sutra, we were talking about mastery over the 5 elements, whereas now we're talking about mastery over the 5 senses. So let's go even further in the words. Looking at the next word, we now have Sanyam. And Sanyam, of course, is referring to Dharana, Dhyan and Samadhi, the triad of all 3 of them together. And after that, we move to Indriya. Indriya refers to the senses. And final word here is Jaya, which means mastery. So now let's take a good look at what is the sutra exactly trying to tell us. So the sutra is saying that through the performance of this Sanyam on these 5 building blocks of Grahan, of Swarupa, of Asmita, of Anvayatva and Arthatva, we are now starting to get deeper and deeper into the Indriyas. And once we understand these 5 building blocks of the 5 sense organs, then it's very easy to take control of, to be able to manage and utilize the sense organs to their highest capacity. So this is what we mean essentially by this particular sutra. But now let's deep dive even further and understand what do each of these 5 words mean and how do they stand and signify this particular sutra. Alright, so the first word that we started off with was Grahan, which refers to the perception power of the sense organs. Now usually we only associate it with the sense organ itself. So for example, if we're thinking about the eyes, we only think about, well, do we have a number or not? Are the eyes functioning properly or not? Are we able to look far distances and close distances? But apart from that, this is just one element of the external, functioning of the senses. But the senses also have an internal role to play. So the pathway from the nerves, which are now comprehending all this information, taking it to the central nervous system, to the brain for perception and conversion into useful information, that entire neural pathway is considered to be part of the Indriya system according to the sutra. So when we say that we need to improve the perception and the receipt of information, we're not only talking about the eye's capacity to do so on its own, we're also talking about the perception and the span of attention of that sense organ related to the nervous system and the brain as well. So So this whole system, if a yoga sadhak can concentrate, do sanyam on this, gather information as to how this whole process is happening and kind of perfect that process, then one can really master the process of grahan itself and comprehension, receipt and perception of information. Then coming to point number 2, we're now looking at the natural form of that particular organ. Now let's take the example of the ear in this case. Each of the indriyas and the organs are closely associated and directly in touch with a particular tanmatra. So in this case, of course, it is akash and sound, or the hearing from the ears. So essentially what is being said here is there's a very close connection and interrelatedness of the natural state of a particular sense organ with its building block, the tanmatra. So for a yoga sadhak to understand the functioning and the true essence or the natural state of a particular organ, he or she will have to go even deeper and look at the building block of the tanmatra associated with it. That will give a much deeper indication and understanding as to what is going on and how deep this really goes in this particular section. So therefore the tanmatra associated with each of the indriyas becomes extremely important. Now we continue as we move forward to the next one. We're looking now at asmita. Now asmita talks about the eye sense. In Sankhya, asmita is comparable with the word ahankar, which means I or the self. So this I, this process of individualization, is the reason why when any information comes through the senses, we can perceive it and we can say, yes, I comprehend this. Right? If we didn't have a sense of individualization or of being an individual, we may not have been able to say that. It would have been very difficult as to who is comprehending the information, who is this I or ahankar or the ego. And therefore asmita plays a key role, and that is something that is an evolutive prakriti. And so when the yoga sadhak is studying this, trying to understand asmita better, he or she will also need to understand this relationship of asmita, the ego sense, which perceives and takes in information and utilizes it for its own purposes. From there, we move to the fourth word, which over here is referring to ANVAYATVA, which means the relatedness of certain things between each other. Now here the relatedness is the interrelatedness or the interconnectedness between all 5 sense organs, all 5 tanmatras, and in a way all the pancha mahabhutas as well, but more so with reference to the tanmatras and the 5 indriyas, and how they all come together at some or the other degree to kind of produce their different permutations and combinations and help the sense organs to function. So this is a really important understanding, because without the tanmatras like Akash, Gandharva, Shabda, it becomes very difficult to actually have the functioning to happen properly. So therefore it is very important for the Tanmatra Panchamahabhuta as well as the essence of the Indriyas to come out interconnectedly all together, so that we can actually function through these in an interrelated, interconnected way. Now, as we come to the 5th word, over here we're talking about ARTHAVATTVA, which means the purposefulness of the sense organs. Now, before a person becomes a yoga sadhak, whatever information comes in is decided by the senses. The usefulness is decided based on if it helps us or if it doesn't help us. The number one question we're always looking out for is what's in it for me. So we're constantly wondering, how is this going to respond to me? What does this mean for me? Etc. etc. And so this is really important. But once a person goes deeper into the path of yoga, the purposefulness of the information that comes in from the senses is not only about themselves, but about the overall bigger picture. It becomes more about understanding the providence in certain things and understanding a 360-degree bird's eye view, rather than trying to say or think about things from just an individualistic and sometimes just a selfish perspective. So that's how the purposefulness of the sense organs evolves over time as we go deeper and deeper on the path of yoga. So this is all about 3.47, very similar to 3.44, learning how to gain mastery over the senses through Sanyam on 5 building blocks of these particular senses. So I hope this sutra has helped you to understand how this can be achieved and what the yoga sadhaks are usually working towards. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Drop your comments in the comment section below. Let us know what you think about these particular sutras and this case of the 5 building blocks. At the same time, please don't forget to share this video and also do subscribe to our channel because we're releasing new videos every single week. Now, we look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, take care, keep practicing, and we're going to see you in the next one. Namaste.